I'm Sajia Begum. I'm from Afghanistan. I came to Germany since 2021. I'm living in Frankfurt. I have 2 daughters, and also I'm studying and working at the university.
When and under what circumstances did you come to Germany?
I came to Germany in 2021 since Taliban took over Afghanistan. While I came through evacuation process, the German government was committed to bring the people who worked with them in Afghanistan, and I came through that process.
How did things continue for you after that?
Actually, my connection with Germany is very long. I've been working with German different organizations. I was working with Medico Mondiale 2003 to 2007, and then with GIZ, that's also a German cooperation organization. I came to Germany in 2011 to 13. I did my master in Germany. And since when I went to Afghanistan, and I was working in a senior position and a lecturer at the university in Afghanistan, but since 2021, when I came back and I realized that there's lots of refugees from Afghanistan, those who need help and support, I started working voluntarily with the University of Applied Science, supporting a group of Afghan women that they should integrate in German society and in German education system. They start Weiterbildung or further studies. Beside that, I was doing my PhD. I started my PhD in 2022 on the political science and looking on border experience of Afghan people after takeover of Taliban on border studies and border issues. Beside that, I also started with an organization called ZAN. I worked there for 1.5 years, supporting Afghan women refugees for their integration and support and challenges they faced in Germany.
You grew up as a young woman under the Taliban. How would you describe life during that time?
I grown up in the first period of Taliban in 1995, and they took over Afghanistan. I was a girl in school. Like I was in a school which I could not study for 5 years, and I had my own underground school for the other girls, and I was teaching at that time. In 2021, when they took again Afghanistan, and I was there while I felt the experience that they at the beginning it was okay, but later on they have started pressurizing, and they ban women from all ever like places, like they cannot work, they cannot go to school beyond 6th grades, and they cannot study at the university. The women are not allowed to go to park or work even they cannot work as a beauty parlors. And these are the situation which is depressing, like being in a prison. The women of Afghanistan now have banned from every bit of their life, even basic rights, which is speaking. In July 2024, Taliban banned women that they should not speak loud in public. That's what the situation in Afghanistan is.
Germany organized the Kabul Luftbrücke in 2021 to help evacuate people at risk. What was the evacuation like for you during that time?
After Taliban took over on 15 August, all the governments who have been working with the Afghan people, they evacuated their staff. German government was one of those countries which they had a long list of people. They have given them humanitarian visa for coming to Germany, which was very difficult, and we had an experience of a bomb explosion while we were traveling and waiting in the airport, but that was not possible. It took a little bit time, but after 2 months we could travel to Pakistan and via Pakistan to Germany.
How did it feel for you to arrive in Germany during that period?
When I arrived in Germany, since I had experience living in Germany before, it was not really different for me, but in the same time, before I had a kind of a feeling that I have a country, like I can go back. But when this time when I arrived, I thought that I have nothing. Like I lost my country, and now I'm a refugee in Germany. that feeling was very difficult and very hard to think about it.
When you think about Afghanistan and Germany, what differences stood out to you most?
Comparing actually Afghanistan and Germany is not comparable. We cannot compare them, like it is completely two countries with a different system. But what I valued in Germany is the first education system for girls and supporting and freedom for women. In Germany, the life, the standards, and also systems, a government which is supporting the citizen is a kind of a value for me in Germany. Living in Germany, though I'm a refugee, but still I do have access to education. I can study and I can teach and I can work. This is what I value. And also the respect for children, respect for women, which in my country, unfortunately, though the women are not allowed to study.
When you think about Afghanistan and Germany, what differences stood out to you most?
Actually, I started studying German since I came. The level is B1, and I'll also continuing to study, because if in the future I would like to work in the university, and I will continue. And German language is very important for me, and I love to study. But at this level, due to my work and PhD, I'm more working on English. That's why the speaking in German is difficult.
How important do you think learning the local language is when starting life in a new country?
Well, new language brings more opportunities for anyone who is living in different countries. And for me, learning English and learning German is an opportunity. I will have more friends, I will have more opportunities, I can work in different positions in Germany. I think that is a kind of a very positive to learn and to integrate it in a society. Though the language is not your own language.
How easy or difficult is it for you to connect with local people? Or have you already made German friends?
Fortunately, I have lots of friends, German friends. I have my classmates those are from different other countries. I have my friends who have been working in Afghanistan, Germans who were working with us in Afghanistan. Now we are very close friends, and we met, we discuss, and we share information. We are learning new cultures. We are sharing our culture, different cultures, and also we have been meeting many people in different occasions.
Alongside your academic career, is there any social or community engagement that is important to you?
Yeah, besides working in the university and doing my PhD, one of my big tasks, which is teaching at university and working my PhD, but I also do volunteer work, especially for women of Afghanistan, because they need support from us who are outside Afghanistan. We have a big conference next week in Madrid, looking to the situation of women and bringing Taliban and accountable them. And this conference will bring women from inside and outside of Afghanistan and also all over the world to discuss the situation of women.
Do you feel safe or at home here? Or has Germany become a second home for you?
Actually, to be honest, since we came, we had lots of welcoming from the people, from German people, from the university where I am working, from the public. They have been very nice. But since a year and a half, the situation changed, and the perspective towards us, towards refugees, especially for Afghans, it made me a bit kind of scared sometimes, and I don't feel comfortable. I do feel as a second home, living here for a long time, but also scared of the prejudice and consider us as a criminals as something which I do feel sometimes why I'm living here and I should go back to my own country.
Based on your experience, what advice would you give to people coming to Germany?
I want to tell for the people who are coming to Germany, Germany is a country of opportunities, especially in the education sectors and work. With the learning language, all this door will be open. For me, I think the people should use this opportunity, not only serving Germany, but in the same time, that's a kind of learning process for themselves also. In the same time, I think for the German government also, these people who are coming as a refugee can become an asset, and then they can be. They also can be an opportunity to support in the system of German government. For both sides, I think that's a kind of a win-win situation if they work together.
How do, for example, environment, culture, or everyday experiences shape how you feel about living in Germany?
The impression of the country, I like the nature. I like the being so green. Some places very nice and beautiful and old. Kind of architectures, and I like those parts, and also in the same time I like the culture. Sometimes the misperception about the German cultures or European culture in our countries are different, but since I'm living here, I know that there's a kind of a values of families and like being everything is so kind of a structured way. These are the things I like, but sometimes people behavior towards others are kind of sometimes making difficult to understand, and also kind of especially for me when I'm looking to sometimes when we are sitting in the bus and like we are from different culture, then people are behaving really rudely. Those things are but kind of different, but I like mostly the system and the structure and culture. Yeah.
How would you describe your relationship with food here?
I like the food in Germany, but we mostly cooking our own food. That's why I don't see so much differences.
How do you feel about the weather here?
The weather in Germany is similar to our country because we also have 4 seasons, and here also is 4 seasons, which I not so much different, and I like it. I like the rain. I like the rain. And
what do you value most about living in Germany?
Punctuality, being on time, working in a structured way. That's what I feel so awesome.
Looking back, what advice would you give your younger self?
For myself, self in the past, I will say that read more, study more, and build your capacity. The door is open for you for your future.
Would you like to say something in closing?
I want to tell for the German people, first of all, thanking them for accepting all this, like different people, but also this is a kind of variety of cultures and opportunities. They will learn a lot of new things, and that's a kind of a positive thing. Thank you for the opportunity, and bye.